Welcome to the church at Hiraeth. Dilwyn knows that something's going on and he's jumped up on the daybed, which is what we record on. Hello and welcome to the church at Hiraeth. After all that, Dilwyn has decided he couldn't wait any longer and he's gone off somewhere else in the home. I enjoy watching old movies and I saw one this week just gone, How to Marry a Millionaire. It's from 1953 and stars Lauren Bacall, Marilyn Monroe and Betty Grable. Three real stars from the golden age of Hollywood. And they move to New York, they hire a penthouse suite and they set about meeting a millionaire, each one on their own particular journey, but living together, so all part of the plot. In the end, two of them, Marilyn Monroe and Betty Grable, end up marrying men for love and not money. But Lauren Bacall, she's got herself a very wealthy man indeed. And it gets to the point where they're about to go through with the wedding. So everyone's there, they're all assembled, they're ready to go through with it. And she just can't. At the last moment, she backs out. She goes into another room, future as it was a couple of minutes before. Husband comes with her. He's an older man. He's much older than she is. And she's been courted by someone else. She's been chased by someone else who she's put off. They call him a gas pump jockey. He works in a filling station, a petrol station if you're in the UK. So he's not a millionaire. But she realizes that she loves him. So she says to the older man, I'm really sorry, but I want to marry the other man, because he was there at the wedding as a guest. And the older man, very philosophical, very wise, he takes it in his stride and he said to her, it's okay. Disappointments become a normal way of life. And so he very gracefully steps aside. So she marries the older man, the other man, the younger man, the poor man. And the twist of the story is that they're all together, the three husbands, the three wives, and they order some stuff at the counter in a bar. And then the man pays with a huge dollar note and tells the bartender, keep the change. The three women collapse, they faint when they realise that he's actually very wealthy. He's been playing along all the time. And the three men are there and they raise a glass and they say cheers, and all their wives, their respective wives, are lying on the ground. So a great movie, a great plot. I love the films from that particular time. But it's that phrase, that sentence that was spoken that really hit me when I listened to it. Disappointments become a normal way of life. And they do, don't they? Because no matter who we are, I know it was a film, but he was a very wealthy man. Do we think that just because we have money in life, that it will somehow insulate us from disappointment? No, it won't. Disappointment will come to the pauper or the millionaire or the billionaire, because very often these things come as a result of circumstances beyond our control. And I can guarantee that every person listening to me right now will have encountered numerous disappointments in their life, will probably be going through some right now, and will most certainly, definitely, for sure, encounter them in the future. So the question is, it's not will we encounter and suffer disappointment in life, but rather how do we deal with it? That's the key, isn't it? And it's so important to take disappointment in our stride. If it's as a result of something that we've said or we've done, then we need to backtrack and, if possible, put the wrong right so that the disappointment is dealt with in that way. But it can be an event, a circumstance, a decision that someone else makes that is totally beyond our control. We have to be strong. We have to face it head on. We have to deal with it. We have to ride the storm. But more importantly, we have to be aware that that disappointment isn't just something that's happened to us, because often in situations like that, we can feel that we're the only one in the whole wide world that's going through that situation at that time. We're not. Deal with it. Understand that many others are also encountering similar disappointments as well. Be strong. Don't let the disappointment get to us. And then, as we begin to cope with the situation, realize that very often disappointments will lead to open doors and something else will come as a result. So that circumstance that we thought would destroy us ultimately is the one that took us to the next level in life. And hope, that's important, isn't it? Whatever we're going through, always have hope that the storm will eventually end and the sun will come out and the rain and the wind and the clouds will disappear, because inevitably in life, that's what always happens anyway, isn't it?
The hymn we're going to sing today is I Know Who Holds the Future.
I'm reading from Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 to 5. And I'm going to skip through the verse themselves and just focus on the point that I want to make. But in verse 1 it begins, "The Lord had said to Abraham, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." Verse 4, "So Abraham left as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him." Abraham was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. And then verse 5, "And they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there." Abraham, 75 years of age, that's a great encouragement, isn't it, to older people. I'm 62. I'll be 63 in the spring. Now, to many people, I'm an old man. I'm on my last legs. But I often come across those in the 70s and 80s who say to me, "You're a spring chicken. You've got years ahead of you just yet." It is very often how we see things in our mind, isn't it? But that wasn't particularly what I wanted to mention in the context of that passage that we've just picked from there. Although that might be relevant to someone. There might be someone who's watching this, and the message for you is you've still got lots of life left in your body for now. So don't give up. Don't think just because you've reached 50 or you've retired or you've been made redundant that it's time to put your feet up and just let yourself go. There are plenty more surprises in life around the corner. But in the week just gone, September the 16th to be precise, in 1620, the Pilgrim Fathers set sail from the UK on a ship called the Mayflower. And they were destined for what was then called the New World. And they made their way across the Atlantic and they settled in what is now Massachusetts. I've been there. It's one of the places that over the years and all the different sites and scenes and countries that I've visited, that is one in particular that stands out for me. But they set out and they were at sea for 66 days. During the journey, many of them got sick, suffered with illnesses. Only one died though on the way over. But in that first winter in what is now Massachusetts, 40 plus of them died. Almost half of the number of people that set out died. But just one on the journey. In fact, there was a baby born as well as they made their way across the Atlantic. They were pioneers. Abraham was a pioneer. God said to him, go to a land that I'll show you. So in a way, he was setting out in faith. He didn't have an A to Z. Anyone remember those? He didn't have a map, a physical map. Anyone remember those? And he certainly didn't have sat-nav. I'm sure we all are familiar with that form of direction finding in our car in particular. He had nothing like that. He set out in faith, and God said to him, I'll show you when you get there. He didn't know where he was going, but he set out. That's pioneer spirit, isn't it? And in many ways, the Pilgrim Fathers were the same. They had an idea. They didn't actually land where they thought they would, but they were in the right area. But when they set out, none of those people knew what it was like. They weren't able to go on the internet and Google Massachusetts and find out where they would stay and what the place was like. Oh, that's a nice little plot of land there. We'll settle there. Oh, some homes already built there. We can join that community. They were pioneers. They set out in faith and they suffered hardship along the way. Abraham was the same. It wasn't plain sailing, quite literally, in the case of the Pilgrim Fathers. And when they got there, that still wasn't the end, because as I've already stated, nearly half of them died during that first winter alone. But they went, they got there, and they got through in the end. In life, what are we going to do? Are we going to become pioneers or settlers? Will we be comfortable with what we've got and not take risks, if I can use that word sometimes in inverted commas? Be a pioneer. I'm not saying that we have to do what Abraham did, set off for another country that he didn't really know where he was until he got there. Or maybe in the case of the Pilgrim Fathers, set off on a perilous journey that again, they didn't really know what they were going into. It might not be as dramatic as that. But nevertheless, there might be something in our life that faces us right now. And we wonder whether to undertake the journey of life. There's a risk. Every time we do something, there's a risk of some description, isn't there? If you leave a job, there's always a risk that it might not work out. And very often, particularly in a job situation, you can agonize about it, you can think about it, you can even pray about it if you're a Christian. But then it's only when you make that decision that you have the peace of mind to know that you have made the right choice. We need to get it right, of course. But the thrust of what I'm saying is, are we going to be settlers or pioneers?
Dilwyn's lurking, so I don't know whether he'll appear in the song, but we'll see. I do not know the course ahead, what joys and griefs are there. But one is near who fully knows, I'll trust his loving care. I know who holds the future, and he'll guide me with his hand. God things don't just happen, everything by him is
when I pressed the record button on Debbie's segment of song just now, I realised that I was actually in there. You can see me in the guitar, standing there where Debbie is right now at this moment, actually. But of course, I've got no guitar. I've got my Cymru and Beth hoodie on, and that means Wales forever. And here he is, Dilwyn, at last, puts in an appearance. When I was there recording, he sat to the side of Debbie, just like he is now. He seems to know that it's recording time, and he was as good as gold all the way through the recording itself, but he wasn't on. So I thought, come on, Dilwyn, let's get up for the final couple of minutes. Thank you for joining us today. We do appreciate it very much indeed. If you are watching on YouTube, go to the comments box or the description box, and you'll find a number of links to the blog post and others, etc. But also to the Church at Hiraeth homepage, which is a subsection of my own website. And you'll be able to catch up with all the online services that we've recorded since we began the Church at Hiraeth, which is a Welsh word, by the way, so very fitting with what I've got on today. It's also the name of our home. So what you see at the start is the sign, the slate from Wales itself, sign in our garden, Hiraeth. We'll see you next week. Have a great days ahead. 7 days maybe, if you're watching this on the weekend, or 6 or 5 or 4 or whenever it is. Have a great week, and we'll see you next Sunday.